So if I could now please ask Engineer Abdullah Ruahi to come back on stage, and we will do a few questions for our speakers. And any speakers who are here could also please join us on stage. Those online, of course, you can stay where you are, and we will ask you those questions. While the questions are going, there'll be a bowl coming around. So please, if you could add your business cards. There'll be a prize draw raffle to win some of the prizes which I mentioned earlier. So we can pass that around. If no business cards, you can write your name on a piece of paper. Please put it in the bowl. So maybe we can, if anyone has any questions, please put your hand up and we'll pass the microphone to you. I'm not sure where the other speakers are. I know we have two online. I'm not sure where Leila has gone.
Hello, Ranganathan.
Hi.
Hi. You spoke about future technologies and that artificial intelligence is going to be like the basic thing offered, if I understood you right. So can you expand on that a bit as to where are we heading with artificial intelligence? Is it something real, or is it just like some superficial thing which we are trying to? Can you tell if large organizations or big data, how can big data derive the benefit, and are the data centers of today capable of being responsive to such a thing? I'm not talking about the big data centers, the mega data centers, but the smaller data centers which we see kind of mushrooming in the region in Gulf. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. So I mean, it's a very, the question is like very kind of complex and requires a an answer, complex as such, right? So if you look at the AI is real for sure, right? And of course, yes, the benefits that what we are seeing today could vary based on the use case. I mean, many of the answers of mine touches upon many of the things which you guys have been talking from the very much start of the day, right? So data is essentially a piece of it. Particularly talking about AI, the data that what we even kind of create today is not sufficient enough, which essentially means for a mid-sized or a small organization to jump into the bandwagon of actually creating AI-based solutions may not be even sufficient enough. From the data perspective, obviously from the hardware perspective or the data storage perspective, actually as such. But from the capability perspective, again, it depends upon your threshold, right? So let me pick an example, right? So one of the popular use case of an AI is NLP, right? So chatbot, conversational AI, and pretty much anybody can build today. Now, the way in which your chatbot application, be maybe your corporate web page, or maybe for your entire country, depends upon the amount of data on which your AI is built on. Essentially, behind the scene, we're talking about having the right set of storage, hardware, processing power to actually do it. And this is where smaller startups essentially leverage cloud providers, right? So this is where just as you did mention, hey, you know what, I have data, I generate a lot of data, and I have a decent customer base, 1 million of customer, but I don't think I have a data center in which I can just do it. So this is where the organizations, mid-sized or smaller startups in particular, leverage cloud so that they can be elastic, so that they can actually use spot instances actually to kind of build it and then actually take the model which is compressed and even put it in your edge device for the matter, or even for that matter in your mobile. And then the advent of open source, right? So there's a lot of open source, as we know, that is coming in every day and day after. For example, MLPerf is an ML performance, which actually kind of looks at all the hardwares and other so instances that we're looking at, the way how it helps you to perform and do a better job with AI. So the AI application of AI really matters a lot when you're going to actually go to that, take the route. And the use case is very important. What is the use case for which you apply? Because it would hit hard on you when it comes to cost, because you cannot expect to provide an ultimate 95, 98% accuracy in results in your, whatever the application that you're trying to build, whereas you have a very small infrastructure altogether. So it's very important to understand all these various different aspects before you even begin the journey actually as such. For many of the use cases, it just could be even a simple machine learning. But at the end of the day, even if it is a machine learning, a common thing, it again goes back to the fact of your data that you're feeding and the data in which you're going to actually, train your, the entire machine learning model to give you the output and the supporting infrastructure for that actually. So it's not a myth, certainly, and it is not a thing, but there are fundamental things which needs to be taken into before you, take any organization that takes the journey actually. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you for that answer. Do we have any questions regarding smart cities for Leila or data center ecosystems for Adnan?
So I have a question for Leila. In many of the countries or in European countries, there's a lot of move towards smart cities. And I would like to understand what are the challenges in Oman to move towards smart city, because there are a lot of benefits. And I think you talked about infrastructure, but is there anything else besides infrastructure that can help citizens and regulatory to move towards smart city? Thank you.
Thanks, Saad, for asking this question. And as I said, I was in the government for the last 15 years, and I started actually in smart cities in 2017. So when it comes to the smart cities, as I said, if you want to succeed, it's not just about one organization. First, it has to be adapted as a smart nation, because if you go everywhere around the world, there's two policies. At a smart nation, we should have a national policy when it comes to smart cities, then a smaller one based on the cities itself. So if we are speaking about a smart nation, it has to be adapted from the cabinet. I'm really glad it's now part of Oman 2040 vision. That's when I said in 2017, when we started about speaking about the knowledge and so on, we wanted to make pressure because we wanted everyone to speak about smart cities. So now it's becoming part of Oman 2040. Now we need to focus on the governance, because when it comes to the governance, for example, we are speaking about the smart infrastructure. When it comes to the smart infrastructure, do we have updated policies, updated regulations? Because although we have 11 governments in Oman, are the governors empowered? Can they implement these projects in their cities? Because we cannot just speak about smart cities. Now, I'm working in the private sector. We can implement our projects, not like when I was in the government. And as I said, now we are offering our own funding model. So it has to be like a very national policy. It speaks about the governance, the funding model, and there's other aspects. We already have it when I was in the government, but we have to make sure that we have a very well structured, because we will need new laws. I will give you just one example. When it comes to the smart infrastructure, we need, for example, to dig at once when it comes to the electricity, water, and the gas, and the connectivity. Because what's happening now, one provider will come and dig in front of your home. After 1 month, another one will come. So we need updated law to force them all to work together. It's about aligning the efforts. So this is what we need. We need a smart nation policy when it comes to smart cities. Then we'll have another smart city policy when it comes to each city. Why we need also to each city? Because in Oman we have different cities. We have cities in the mountains, on the beach, on the coast. So every city, it has its own unique address. For example, if I'm speaking about Nizwa, it's about heritage. If I'm speaking about Sur, it is a coastal city. So how can we make people happy in these cities? So every people in each city, they have different needs. So they should have their own policies also, and based on the national level. I hope that I have answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question for Ms. Leila. You mentioned now you were in government and you started for smart cities since 2017, and there was a platform, smart cities platform. And now actually we are same looking for this kind of policies and regulations. So where are them so far? And when they are going to be available, so we'll make the enablers or the implementers can work on this, because without policies, without regulatories, without such documentation that which mapping such thing that we cannot move forward, or till when we have to wait. Actually, we are behind now. Thank you.
I totally agree with you, but I'm not the right person maybe to answer it. We should have somebody, for example, from Oman 2040 or Tanfeed, so they can say, okay, we are working on it and so on. Because I said I was in the government, but there were some plans, so we can, to align the efforts with different sectors, because it's not about one organization. Because when I was in the government, they always, point to one organization. They say, you are the responsible to lead the smart city. For example, I was in ITA, then we become Minister of Transport, Communication and IT, and they say, you are responsible. And I say, we are not responsible. It's about, the collaboration of different organizations. And I'm always saying, don't wait. If you can do it, go for it. And this is, what I found when I just, joined the private sector now in NEC. They did not wait, although they have a lot of challenges when it comes to the implementation, but they say, let us go. When it comes to the funding model, we went to the government and we say, we can, fund your projects and so on. So it might take time, but inshallah, it's going to be soon, inshallah, hopefully so. And, I just also want to make one more correction. Thanks, Dr. Adil, for, correcting me, because, I mentioned 100 million for Al-Ansab. It is 1 million. I'm sorry if there is anyone from a reporter and newspaper, please don't take that, because I think I was very excited and said 100 million instead of 1 million. So the correct number for Al-Ansab project is 1 million. And thank you so much.
Right. My question is to Laila. Laila, first of all, congratulations for moving to the private sector. I see today is not the day for the government. Right. So my question is, your smart city project, how much is it a city for the people, a city for living? Is it just a city of technologies, or is it a city built around people? I hope you can answer that.
I think this is one of my favorite questions. And I already, when I started my, presentation, I said, the smart cities that we are looking for is the city that we can live on it. It's not just about the technology. It's about, us as human. Can we really feel safe and happy in that city? It's about the community. And sometimes, I love to call it smart community, because we need to feel that we are part of that, city, not just about technology. So we have to plan, our cities very well. And when I say plan it very well, do we have space for ourselves? Do we have space for our kids? For example, so many times you find the kids are playing around. They are playing on the streets, right? Most of us, I think. And we have, our schools, after school, it's closed. So how can we, empower, for example, this community and make it smarter? Why not, for example, using the technology in the schools so we can book the yards, in school for our kids? So you can see it's about, just aligning the efforts, integration of all the aspects of that city. So this is what I can say. It's just a matter of aligning the efforts and using the technology so it can make our life easier. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I'll just read this out. This question is from Ala Mahjoub. He's one of our speaker. The question is for ODP. I think it's, does ODP support confidential computing and quantum safe encryption? If so, which type of cloud service support confidential computing and quantum safe encryption? Right, we'll come back to Ala. So the speaker isn't here. I think another question from Ala. This is from security point of view. I think that in many cases, using community clouds or private cloud are better options than public clouds for safeguarding the data, information applications, as well as physical assets, especially for industrial organizations, as well as applications that concern national critical infrastructure, smart cities, telecom, oil, that concern national oil and gas transportation utility and so forth. Potential risk of public cloud deployment model includes things such as lack of conformity with confidential computing, for example, Intel trusted encryption environment, need of third-party attestation, lack of quantum safe encryption. What do you think about that? I'm not sure who can answer that big question. I think Ala will come back to you. There's a question for Ranganathan. Hello, Ranganathan, sir. What about the data center usage in TVS? This is Hari Perumal and from Muscat. So he's asking about data center usage in TVS.
Right. So quickly about TVS, we are a service integrator. So we pretty much help organizations to be data, digital ready as such. So within the, I mean, as a group, TVS group, which is a large conglomerate, probably many of you, I know from Asia might be aware as such. So they are a data intensive organization, just as we've been talking about. We may be in their manufacturing industry, or be maybe in their manufacturing sites, or in their scooters or bikes. As we know, they're getting more and more sensor based and all that. So be it maybe real time, a batch, and again processing them. And of course, they are very cloud intensive, more than a data center as such. And so from the overall group perspective, yes, I mean, they are a heavy consumer of all this that we are looking at. But from TVS Next perspective, we are a more service integrated. We help organizations to realize the digital journey. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Ranganathan. This is the last question, and I think it's a very heavy question for Laila. It's from Dina Al-Maimani. What challenges can hinder the implementation of smart city in Oman? Many challenges.
I think I already, answered this, but I'm going to mention it again. It's again, two main things, and not just in Oman. It's everywhere around the world. Because whenever we attend the meetings, when it comes to the smart cities, everyone is, complaining about the policies and regulations and the funding. Because, as I said, the government is always feeling risk to invest on technology, because they say technology is expensive and we cannot take risks. How can we guarantee this is going to be successful? So these the main two aspects. Usually when it comes to the challenges, we should work very well when it comes to providing a very good infrastructure for the smart cities. And sometimes, the technology is changing day after day. So for example, today we are using a new kind of sensors. Is it updated and aligned or with, for example, TRA or the other providers here in Oman? So it's about, how to update ourselves to what's really happening around the world. So we have to update the regulations and policies and find a very good supportive funding model from at the government level. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to all our speakers for answering those questions and for all your presentations.